Alright, Garrick here, Studio One Vintage Guitars. I'm here with David Ward, musician. You might have seen David pop up on our YouTube and Instagram videos playing some magical stuff on the guitar. We just thought we'd have a bit of a chat with David, talk a little bit about his backstory and get some top tips. David's my guitar teacher. We've just finished up a lesson. We've been talking about a few different things and we thought it'd be kind of handy to share with you. But David, can you give us a bit of your backstory? Where did you start playing guitar?
I think I was maybe about 13 or 14, and at that stage I'd done some piano lessons and sort of in quite a classical way, and got a little bit kind of bored with just playing tunes, and so and there was a guitar lying around, and I just started to want to play some of the tunes I was listening to. I think the first tune that I learnt on guitar, I taught myself to play like "Wish You Were Here." And I was very impressed with myself, and then
oh, that's good. Did you teach yourself? Did you have like a tab book, or did you just?
Well, no, there wasn't. Well, obviously there wasn't like the wealth of kind of tabs and stuff. Like the internet didn't exist.
That's right.
But I remember I had sort of a brother's friend, and he showed me like the Hendrix chord, the E7 flat sharp 9, and I remember drawing it on my wall and stuff like that. So I started out teaching myself, and then I got like some classical sort of flamenco lessons for a little while. So I learned to kind of read and sort of do a bit of that, and then I got quite into jazz, and so I took a year out after high school and just sort of practiced for hours a day to get into jazz school, and then spent 3 hours doing that. So doing a music degree. 3 years,
yeah.
So to start off with, I guess for a little while there, I was kind of super purist about playing jazz and listening to jazz, and I kind of got rid of my sort of 70s prog records and stuff. Some of which was a little bit of a shame. So I wouldn't mind listening to them now. Now I sort of.
Now you're diversified out quite a bit too, because you're quite the banjo player. And when did you get involved in the banjo?
That was probably maybe about 15 years ago or something like that. I saw a theatre show with Jeff Henderson was playing these beautiful fretless banjos, and I was like, that sound, I love that. So I went out and bought a banjo, and then there was a show that I was writing music for that was kind of like from that kind of era, like 1890s, and so I bought a few more and learnt that, and I guess that started me kind of going back in a little bit in time from the jazz to the kind of the roots of jazz and sort of country and bluegrass and blues and folk and things like that.
So you're really diverse, been right through musical history.
Well,
for the stringed instruments, really. That's pretty cool. But you predominantly play or teach clawhammer banjo.
Yep. I do sort of bluegrass kind of picking as well, but I don't really sort of perform in that kind of style. It's I'm not sort of. There's people who do that a lot better than me, and I sort of find the kind of the older kind of style, folk style of banjo sort of appeals to me a bit more.
With the more clawhammer.
Yeah, sort of the roots of kind of blues and sort of the folk tradition before it became a little bit more country and sort of solidified into one thing. Yeah.
But famously, you played banjo on a movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. So there was Jane Campion's movie, The Power of the Dog. So that was the main character Benedict Cumberbatch played. He was like a proficient kind of banjo player, and that was kind of a big part of the movie. There was kind of like
like a weapon of torture, the banjo.
Yeah, he was kind of psychologically torturing this the other protagonist, his brother's wife, and so there was kind of the scene. Yeah, so I ended up sort of teaching Benedict how to play banjo, at least kind of look like he was playing banjo, and really sort of get his fingers around the right way and sort of get a good sound. And then there was a bit where I wrote a few pieces and was on set, kind of making sure that they were doing the right thing.
Yeah, and you performed them?
And then sort of I went back and and watch the footage that they cut together and sort of record it over to make it.
I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. A lot of people say, that's the greatest bit of banjo in the movie since was it The Unforgiven or some other great. What's the other great? Bit of banjo in there. I can't remember. But
Deliverance.
Deliverance.
People who haven't even seen Deliverance going to sort of know that kind of banjo reference.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was this Guardian guy who was saying that it was like the most menacing or something since then.
Yeah.
So that's a good little quote.
Yeah. And so aside from that, I mean, you're involved quite a lot in composition, theatre composition. Performance, and you've been doing that for some time. Can you tell us just a little bit about that? Indian Ink might be the name of the group that you're involved with.
Yeah, so I guess I've always been interested in kind of performing kind of original stuff, and so but yeah, like one of the contexts where I've done that quite a lot is I've done about 8 shows with Indian Ink Theatre Company, which is one of I think New Zealand's longest running kind of companies, and done very well in New Zealand and internationally. And so I've written music for a lot of their shows, and they're all kind of quite different. Some of them it's kind of solo, banjo again, like I'm playing a banjo more like an Indian kind of sarod or a sitar kind of thing, and sample music. Another one was like I was playing sort of marimba and percussion and guitar and sort of everything. And
that's played live in the performances.
They're quite keen traditionally to have live music as pretty much nearly all their shows. Yeah. The last show that I did with them was a little bit interesting because it was a bit more rather than having live music, I was actually playing sort of synthesizers and sort of and sampled sound effects and triggering those. Yeah. And eventually, after we'd done a couple of seasons, I kind of actually recorded them, and which is what a lot of theatre shows do. Actually, just have recorded music to be cued by kind of a technician, and but it's good. Like we sort of kept the kind of liveness open by actually having a couple of seasons and really kind of understanding the kind of the rhythm of the show and the actor and working together. Because as soon as kind of like the kind of the music and the theatre show kind of gets kind of set, then it's kind of like it's rigid and it can't move, So you really have to make sure that it's developed. And so a show like Guru of Chai that I've done like hundreds of times all around the world, it got to the point where it was just so honed in the sort of the little microscopic kind of nuances of kind of timing between the things that it's just kind of cool. Although it's not improvised in the way that I play like a lot of improvised music. There's a very much element of trying to keep it alive. Yeah. At each individual show and kind of really respond to what's going on.
Yeah. I think some of the other things that you've been involved with, like the Wheel Experience, have a theatre element to the group. It was a 3-piece group. Yeah. Playing, I think, was it like almost like stories of early New Zealand, or were they kind of made up stories of early New Zealand, or kind of fantasies?
There's a little bit of both. Like I didn't really want to kind of do a kind of sort of a history lesson or be too kind of precious about it. So, but we kind of researched sort of that early colonial kind of history of New Zealand. Because I was thinking, like I was playing all these things on banjo, which were all about the kind of that similar kind of period in American history, Yeah. And I was like, well, looking for sort of home, sort of stories from New Zealand. And so we found some of those stories were kind of just in themselves, were just, full in themselves, and we kind of found a way of telling that story. And other ones that we kind of took, quite liberal embellishments to the truth, in the good way that a kind of a legend kind of does that. And other ones it was just a situation and we just invented some stuff. But yeah, that was a cool project where we were playing. I don't know, on stage it was all acoustic, and we had guitars and banjos and slide and mandolin and violin, and it was very much kind of like a sort of a folk Instrumentally, it was quite folk, but we weren't kind of really trying to be beholden to kind of any kind of particular
Yeah.
kind of style or anything like that.
Yeah. And then on tour, you guys, I understand, rolled your van, travelling down, I'm guessing somewhere down State Highway 1, something like that, and all miraculously survived.
Yeah,
That
was intense.
Yeah, how long ago was that?
That was about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was like, I think we're maybe, I can't remember, like maybe a couple of shows into the tour.
Yeah.
And we, and it was just a greasy road in the early morning, and maybe just took the corner just a little bit too ambitiously, and it got into a fishtail, and we rolled it. So, but yeah, we managed to miss one show and then get back on the road.
Amazing.
Yeah, we got another van, and all the instruments kind of survived, and so did we. Although, yeah, Peter and Dave kind of got a bit more bashed up than I did. But yeah, that incident is actually sort of a we're just currently finished a little like a new project which kind of took that little incident and the kind of the as a kind of a provocation for kind of like a new show. So we're just looking at developing that a bit more.
Amazing.